another live stream, and I don't have any particular category, so I'm just going to let my brain ramble on. Sometimes that's all I do throughout the day, seriously, just random thoughts. And so, uh, how are you doing today? I mean, if it's early morning for you, I say that you really don't know yet how the day's going for you. But if this is later that you're getting to watch, then how has your day been? It looks like I've got shadow on my forehead, and I don't. Okay. Anyway, um, yesterday I done very well with my eating. I didn't overdo it. Once again, I didn't really think about food. And overall, I only ate two things yesterday. And there was a round about 5 hours difference by the time I in between both meals. So that's pretty good. And I am very happy with what God's doing with me about that. And He is definitely working with me on it. And unfortunately, I guess my body thinks that I'm trying to starve it, and so it's trying to store it up or something, but eventually it'll start using. So I'm looking forward to really seeing the results. And once the results comes, they're going to keep rolling. It's just going to keep on rolling, keep on rolling. So my body can't hold on to it forever. I mean, uh, warning anybody who starves themselves and is anorexic, uh, eventually your body started to, any tissue it could, started to eat on. So, um, yeah, eventually my body is going to have to eat up on the fat that it has stored for a rainy day. And then I will really start seeing the results of my efforts. But in the meantime, okay. Um, I got this little piece here. It kind of drives me nuts. I didn't bother to wash my hair today, and so that's just a little bit of where I slept on it. But other than that, it's okay. Yeah, it's all right. Anyway, I was watching a couple days ago about this one woman. I don't remember the name of her channel, but she was burned all over. Uh, I reckon her husband had caught her on fire. And like at first it was claimed an accident, but I reckon later it was declared that it was on purpose. Anyway, her face was really greatly disfigured. I mean, it looked like it just really been melted. And they had to do a lot of skin grafts on her. This was 2018, 2019, something like that. And so she was relaying her story. And she would put the makeup on, and the makeup done a pretty good job of hiding a lot of the scarring, but you could still see that there was that. And it really, it bothers me when I see that people has been victimized. And it's heartbreaking. And I love it when there is a happy ending that the person lived. But it really disheartens me when I find out that the person passed away. There is so much cruelty in this world, and it's not always through serial killers. Sometimes it's domestic, and it's very painful. Um, so she is a survivor, and then I watched these videos about these dogs that's found, and like they have become strays, and or they have been abused or whatever, and they're in such sad state. And I love seeing the recovery stories where they get rescued, took to the vet, they get the nutrients they need, the care they need, the love they need, and they recover. And then some of them is really sad where they do what they can for them. They live for a few months and then they pass away. Yesterday, I broke down bawling. I watched one on a puppy that was around 3 months or less. And it showed that little fella just flip-flopping around and bawling. It was screaming and flip-flopping around. And the children that was on the street said that a sanitation worker kicked it. So here's this little baby that's flip-flopping around and screaming in pain and everything. And finally, like I reckon it'd been like that for 2 days, and finally it was picked up and took to the vet, and it had swelling on the brain from the kick. And so they had to do surgery and drain the brain and everything. And the poor little fellow, it ended up causing a a nervous reaction, a nervous twitch. And sometimes he would start like jerking about and he would scream in more pain. And they had to keep doing therapy with him and everything. And eventually he wasn't so much in pain anymore, but he would still kind of groan. And when the swelling ran out of his face, his eyes were outward. They weren't looking straight. So he would always have to look one way or the other to keep getting a vision of what he was trying to look at. And it was really sad looking. And they got him to the point where he was able to practically feed himself. He kind of struggled to be able to stand up and walk, but they kept doing therapy with him on that too, where he could stand a little bit and everything. And then, like, one woman came and visited him, and he was well on his way to recovery and everything. And this one woman visited him and ended up dropping him. And he ended up injured all over again, only this time it was worse than the first injury. And he ended up passing away because of that. There was no recovery for him then. And I broke down bawling, really seriously bawling. And I went to my Callie and I hugged her and I started petting her and I was crying on her and everything because, anytime that I see a video about a dog, it really makes me feel bad and it makes me grateful for my animal or for my animals. And I always want to make them happy. I want to take care of them. I don't want to do anything that would ever put them in harm. And I really want to lavish them in love, So those videos, I told the Lord yesterday, I've got to stop watching them because I can't handle watching them. They're really hard for me to watch, especially because I own animals. So um, I'm going to try very hard to avoid them by all means and just keep watching like Hair Buddha on hair fails so that I know not what to do and pay attention to what he's saying so I know what to do. Anyway, we've been getting cooler temperatures at night. So when I go out and pray, I have to use what I call my prayer blanket. And so it's getting like that, but we're still having some decently hot days. The temperatures are still reaching up around 85 and 90. See if I can really think of a good subject, though, that I can kind of ramble on. I once had a dream a long time ago. Sometimes I have dreams that are so not necessarily vivid, but kind of in a storybook line that would make awesome novels. And this one particular one really stood out to me. I had this one a few years ago, and it really stood out to me. And I would love to write novels based on what I dream, but I never get started on them. But this particular one, um, it actually ended up being a ghost story. And there was this husband and wife who loved each other really, really much. I mean, they were deeply in love. And he worked for the railroad. And their house was next to the railroad. And one day she received a message that her husband had been killed on the rail line. Now, the way my dream was set, it was kind of like the trains weren't the diesel locomotives that runs now. The train in my dream was the steam powered, ran by coal, the old locomotives, the original ones. And so the time period, I guess, would have been like a early 1900s or something. But anyway, she had gotten the message that her husband had been killed on the rail line. Something like he had got stuck on the tracks or something. I don't remember. In my dream, it didn't give full detail about how he had died. I just know that he had been hit by the train. And she mourned for him. She mourned. She couldn't handle it. And then like there was one day and she was still in the grieving, and a train came by, and it reminded her of her husband all over again, and here she was trying to get on with her life. And then as that train passed by, she saw in the room that faced the railroad an image, and she turned and looked, and here it was her husband's spirit. And he was right there with her, and then they embraced, and she ripped in his arms, and they spoke of how much they loved each other and everything. I mean, it was a really beautiful dream. Really beautiful dream. I could almost write that into a novel. I really could, or even a movie or something. I don't dream those kind of dreams very often, though, unfortunately. So I am noticing that I get more traffic if I have actually got a title that's got subject matter. And I really don't have much more to talk about the Raydown other than the fact that I'm doing better and that I'm improving every day with my eating. I really didn't have much to talk about at all today. And I really try hard to think about what to talk about because I am wanting to do these live streams. When I had first started doing the live streams, at the time YouTube allowed you to do live streams no matter how small the subscribers you had. And then finally they had changed the rules that you couldn't live stream unless you had over 1,000 subscribers. So they had cut off the live streaming for small YouTubers. But you was still able to live stream through a separate app that you could connect to YouTube. But anyway, at the time when I was doing live streaming, I was between 20 subscribers and over 100 subscribers on YouTube. And I was growing pretty good. And I ended up developing a lot of friends. I ended up receiving a whole lot of friends that became regulars. And so when they would come on and join the chat, it made it easier for conversation. But doing these Rumble live streams, like I can't just up and see if there's anybody talking. I have to click a button that brings up comments, and then I can read on those. But it's just a simple little. It's by Rumble, and the cool thing about this that I haven't seen on any other live streaming app, not even on the YouTube app, is that through the Rumble live stream app, not only am I live streaming on Rumble, but I'm also able to connect YouTube, Twitter, which is now X, Facebook. I think I saw Instagram. I think I even saw Snapchat or something. Anyway, there's a few different apps that I can connect to if I've got an account to them. And therefore, I can live stream on multiple platforms through the Rumble Studio live stream. And so that is pretty rad. That that's pretty cool. But like I said, whereas the other live streaming applications, you see the chat as it comes on automatically. You see the chat and you're able to read the chat and respond and everything. So that's one thing that Rumble needs to change on their app if they're going to do the live stream app. They're going to have to make it so that the comments can be seen automatically, that the conversation is seen on screen instead of having to click a prompt button that allows the comments to come up. That would make it so much easier. Other than that, I absolutely love the Rumble live stream app. It does a great job with clarity and it doesn't kick out. There's this one live streaming app that I have used multiple times, especially when I was trying to live stream on YouTube after they had removed the allowance for small YouTubers. And it had a problem with kicking out a lot. It would kill out a whole lot. I mean, it was bad. It was real bad. But it seems like the Rumble live stream app has only given me trouble like a couple times if I would be in a real patchy spot. So, yeah, it's a pretty good app. Now, I don't know if you can use the Rumble Studio live stream app without having an account on Rumble or not. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know because it required me to put in my Rumble account when I downloaded the Studio app. So maybe you can use it as a separate tool. I don't know. But it seems to be working pretty good. Anyway, I will do my best to try to find a subject for me to do. Maybe if anybody would have any ideas that like I've got the food critic for taste testing foods, but maybe there's something that you all would like to hear about, or maybe me test out like a makeup or something. Sorry about that. Anyway, if any of yous have any ideas about what subject to talk about or something for me to try, like as I said, maybe makeup, um, nothing food, nothing food on this. That's reserved for the food critic. But if you do have an idea of something for me to try for food that I can do on the food critic, then that'd be great. But I'm mostly looking for any kind of subject matter to talk about here on the travels and vlogs. That way it's not just open air or me just babbling on like a babbling fool or something. um, I am thinking about, though, like when I have really neat dreams, to tell you all about what dreams I've had. Now, last night I really didn't have any particular dream. I mean, I dreamt, but I don't remember what the dream was. So, but yeah, I'm thinking about adding dreams when I have them that I remember. And of course, if they're like nightmares or something, I may not share that. Or if it's something that I think is just not really interesting of a dream, something that fascinated me maybe, but not wouldn't be fascinating to somebody else. Um, you know what would be the greatest thing that you all would enjoy? Are you adventurous? Do you like to explore, or do you really like going to restaurants, or what is your favorite activity? Are you sporty, like you like to do sports, or are you athletic, or for me personally, I absolutely love walking. But for the current time where I'm still carrying this weight, it's a little hard for me to really take up walking. And I love doing it. I absolutely love walking. But it kind of gets to be a little hard on my ankles and my hips. So I'm looking that as I continue to lose the weight, that will be a little easier on me. Explore for new food. Yeah, yeah, I absolutely could do that. I could do that. I only shop Walmart. It'd be interesting for me to try out other places. We've got a store that's like it's kind of a country store for farmers and ranchers, but they have got some really neat things, and um, I could maybe like go there and see what products they've got that I could try. Um, I know Walmart, they always put promotional foods out there that may or may not take off. There was one particular, yeah, spiced Coca-Cola. I thought it was pretty good, but I reckon they kind of taken it off the shelf because it didn't take off as well as they wanted it to. But I thought it was pretty good. Instead of being cherry, it was raspberry, and I liked it. But I do like trying promotional foods. I love trying them. Most generally, any new flavors that comes out, like with potato chips or a drink or a candy or whatever, I like to try. But more or less, I'm kind of trying to veer off of that kind of food because I'm not wanting to get back into the bad habit of eating a bunch of junk. And here lately, there's been some really weird flavors coming out that I don't want to try. There's like they came out with Oreo flavored Coke, and I think Oreos came out with Coke flavored Oreos. Anyway, there's this one channel. He goes by the name of Freakin' Reviews, and he tried both the Coke and the Oreos. And he said that the Oreos tasted more like Coke than the Coke did the Oreos. I don't see. I could almost imagine the Oreo cookies tasting a little bit like Coke, and maybe that would be okay. But I really struggle with the thought of Coca-Cola tasting like Oreo cookies. I don't know about that. And I don't think it comes in full sugar. I think it's only in the diet. Or at least that's what he tried, was the diet. And so I really don't know. And it happens that Walmart is carrying the Oreo flavored Coca-Cola. I don't know if I would want to buy an entire 12 pack without knowing what it tastes like. I think that would be a waste. So, um, I don't know, some of the flavors, they're really grasping. These different food companies, they're grasping, I think. I believe they're running out of ideas. And so, yeah. But now, as far as it goes, like for me, in my question about if you're athletic or if you like to explore or if you're adventurous or whatever, I absolutely love walking and exploring. I really love it when I get to a park that I've never gone to before, and there are a lot of different branching trails. I love to hike them and see what they look like. And there's one park around here that's got several trails on it, and there's been a couple branching trails off of it that I ran on ahead and checked out, and they didn't do anything more than just go out to the road. So, wasn't all that fun after all. I once went on a haunted trail, which was at that very same park that had those trails that ran out to the road. So let me share with you a little bit about what I experienced on at that park. I'd done a video on the park for YouTube, and I haven't gone back to the park since. And it's so weird because, like, when I first started walking it, it was okay. I never experienced anything a little off or odd. But then there was one day that I was walking it, and I think I had some headphones on. I was listening to my music, I believe. And at one particular part of the park, a lot of people, they ride their bikes on it. And I was on one section of the trail, and it sounded like somebody rode by me on their bike. Now, the music that I was listening to was Christian music, and it didn't have any sound like that. It didn't have any sound on it that made it sound like a bike riding by. But it seriously, it was like I heard a bike fly by. And I ripped around and I looked all over the place, and there wasn't any bicyclist anywhere. And I knew that there wasn't anybody there because I was looking around me and, paying attention where I was walking and all that. You have to pay attention when you're walking on the trail because, one, where there are other hikers, two, where there are bicyclists, and three, where there's a lot of roots. So you got to also make sure that you don't trip. So I was having to pay extra attention, but there wasn't anybody there. But sure enough, I did. It was like somebody just bicycled right by me. And then there was another time that I went back to that particular park, and the way that the trails went, they kind of went circular. So you could pass somebody on one trail and end up passing them again on another. And this particular time, there was this woman that had a little dog, and I passed by her. The dog was fine about that and everything. No problem. And then we ended up meeting again on another part of the trail system. And this time the dog was barking like crazy and growling and holding back and would not walk by me. But yet it didn't have no problem on the first trail system that we were on. But prior to that, when I was walking, because it's a real winding trail and it's kind of blind unless you look straight through the trail, straight through the trees. So I was at one point of a curve and I saw what looked like somebody walking toward me on the other side of the curve, and they were wearing the old-fashioned high socks that had the colored stripes. Do you remember the tube socks that had the colored stripes? Uh, these socks, I saw plainly the socks, you know, and they were red and blue striped socks. So I stood there waiting patiently aside on the trail, waiting patiently for them to come on around the curve and meet up to me and walk on by. But nobody ever showed up. So I continued on, and there wasn't anybody there, anywhere. Once again, I looked all over the place. There was nobody. And then I ended up on that other part of the trail where that woman with that dog was. And that's when that dog started doing that. And it was so strange. I couldn't understand why the dog was holding back and not wanting to pass by me when it didn't have no problems the first time that we passed. And the woman literally had to pick up her little dog and walk by. So I'm continuing on, and I'm really thinking that was odd. And then I got thinking about where I'd seen what I thought was somebody walking toward me around the curve wearing those old-fashioned tube socks. And I thought, there's something really weird here. And so as I continued on, I rounded another curve, and suddenly I started hearing breathing, heavy breathing right next to my ear behind me, heavy breathing. And that's when I knew that it was a demon, and I rebuked it. And that's when the heavy breathing stopped. And I was able to finish my walk through that trail with no further incident. But when I got home, I felt like there was something a little off. And that feeling stayed with me for about a month or two. So whatever took place at that park came with me home. And I didn't go back and walk that park no more. And I haven't been back to it. I can't even bring myself to go to it. I mean, I would absolutely love to walk it because it's close. And it's got an awesome trail system, a lot of variance in hills and everything. It's easy to hike. It's short, but at the same time, you've got your variance in length of hill and steepness and everything. So it's a great workout. But I can't bring myself to go back to it. I just can't. So I don't know what took place there, why that I experienced that stuff, but I'm not going back. I'm not going back. And I don't particularly believe in hauntings, but I do know that there is demonic spirits that haunts people because they want to torment you. Now this house, there's been some experiences. I had once done a video on my haunted experiences, and one of the stories was about that haunted trail. Back right after I had gotten married, this was like in it was closer around 1992. Me and my husband lived in an apartment, and it was a 2-bedroom. And by this time, our daughter was big enough that she was able to get out of her crib on her own. And the bedrooms were upstairs. And this particular time, I always knew when she got up from her nap and when she was coming downstairs. I always knew because the stairs made a certain creak. Even when she'd be coming down them, it would make that certain sound. And I'm doing the dishes, and she had been up there sleeping and everything. And so I heard the familiar sound. My daughter's coming downstairs. And I'm waiting for her. My little toddler never showed up. I thought, okay. So I went to go check on her, make sure she was okay. And I went plumb up to her bedroom and looked, and she was still asleep in the crib. So that was the first incident that I had ever experienced, ever. And then in that same apartment, one very long after that, mm, about a month or less or more, somewhere around there. And we always had the door set so that it would automatically be locked when we would close the door behind us. And so I would keep the apartment locked. And I was lying on the couch and I heard the familiar sound of my husband's key going into the lock. And I'm waiting for him to come in, and he never did. And so I went and looked, and he wasn't even out there. So that was the second experience that I'd had. And then there came another point that I was in another apartment and I saw a shadow, and I just knew that it was a little boy. It stood about 4 foot tall, and it went from the bathroom across into the bedroom. I was sitting in the living room and I was able to face straight down the hall. And so I saw that. That was about the only thing I experienced there. And then, of course, here, the haunted trail at the park that I just shared with you. But now with this house, oh, let me go to the house that me and my husband had lived in after we had moved out of the apartments. That one was loaded with activity, a lot of activity. This is from an Amanda. Hello, I also have came encounter with ghosts. It sucks sometimes, always chilling when it happens. And you love my stories. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, it can be quite frightening when you experience something, especially not knowing what it is. Um, but in the house that me and my husband moved to after we was done living in the apartments, as I was saying, it was full of activity. Uh, we had a little Chihuahua dachshund, and one particular day she just became a coward, and she like hovered in the corner of the living room and would not come out and kept looking toward the hallway and growling. Now, we never saw anything, but she was carrying on. She was upset. And it took, I think it might have took about 10 minutes for her to finally come out of that corner. And I still have no idea what in the world it was. And there was another time I was sitting at my desk at that house, and out of my peripheral on this side, I saw something just buzz through behind my head and out this way, out the screen door. And the screen door was shut, but I saw it go right out. And it was something like black, almost looked like a large flying bug almost. It just right behind me and out. And there wasn't anything there. There was no way of it getting out of that screen door. It just went through the screen. It was crazy. And there was another time that my husband always called our son Stevie. And this particular time, he was getting ready to go down the road, and he had just pulled out of the driveway, and we all heard him call Stevie. Well, he was gone, but we heard it plain as day, Stevie. And like, I asked my daughters, because I've got my two older daughters and then my son, and I asked them, I said, did you hear that? Yeah, we heard that. They all heard their dad, but he had just left. My ex-husband is deceased and things always are happening around me. I often wonder if he is near me. God bless you. Once again from Amanda Cameron. I tell you what, oftentimes we want to be comforted thinking that our loved ones are around us, and our memories of our loved ones can even haunt us. I have lost my grandparents. I've only got one grandparent left living, and I miss them greatly. I've not ever been haunted by them though, but sometimes I like to tell God to tell them I love them. You know, um, in that same house though that I experienced these other things, um, I had just come out of the bathroom and I was looking down the hall, and I saw a full body colored apparition of my husband walking from the kitchen into the living room like he was going to go sit down on the couch. I saw the shoes, the jeans, the shirt, the cap, full body. I could have swore that he was walking through the house. So I go on in there to see if he had anything to say about what he had been doing outside or whatever, because I knew he was working on his lawnmower and he wasn't in there. So I went to look for him and he was still outside working on his lawnmower. I said, "Did you just come in?" "No, I've been out here." That was the biggest thing that I'd ever experienced there. It was like really weird. And there was another time that I was looking, we've got like a black stand that used to be a wine cabinet, and it's got a mirror inside of it where your glasses go. And I'm looking through that mirror, and the mirror was facing the hallway, and we had the hall light on. And I'm looking in that mirror, and I saw a tall white figure with a woman's face walk through that hall, and then it just like disappeared. And I quickly looked behind me, and there wasn't anything there. And when I looked in the mirror again, there wasn't anything there, but I saw it coming down the hall. And Amanda once again says, "You are absolutely right. Oh my, I'd be so frightened. What about where I saw my husband walk across the hall like that?" Yeah, that it didn't frighten me. I was just anxious to see what he had to say about what he had experienced while working on his lawnmower, because he was always getting into something when he was working on something, and he'd tell me. So I was anxious to see just what it was, and nope. But now the experience about the right figure coming down the hallway, it didn't frighten me, but I was really curious about what it was that I was seeing. And oftentimes I would see like a little black fuzzy close to the floor zooming around, and there would be a white glow chasing it. And I kind of figured that was an angel chasing a demon. So that was always interesting to spot. But now, here in this house was one experience that did really kind of, I had never really been given the willies over everything else that I've experienced, other than like at the park. But one particular thing that happened here, I was sitting on the couch, and the way that the couch is positioned in the living room, I can face the arched doorway that leads to the hall. And you can't see the hall because the hall is behind the living room wall. But there is the archway that goes into the foyer for the outside door. And so you got that. And I was sitting on the couch and I was talking about what the animals had done, how they had behaved that day. And I looked up and I saw a shadow that was standing about where I was sitting. I probably wouldn't have been able to really measure it, maybe 4.5 feet high. And it was like it was peeking through that shadow, or peeking around that doorway, so that I only saw half of its shadow. And it took like a good full 2 seconds, a second and a half to 2 seconds. And I'm staring at it, and it goes back toward the hall. And at first I thought maybe it was my Callie, because Callie is black. She's actually more of a spindle, but she's got more black than she's got gold through her. And I thought maybe it was her, but I looked and she was lying down, and all the other animals doesn't match the color. And that's when I realized that there had been something looking through that arched door, peeking and watching and seeing what was going on. And like, I got up and I went to the hall and I looked. There wasn't nothing in the hall. I went on back through and looked in all the rooms. There wasn't nothing in the rooms. But my heart was beating rapidly. That really did affect me on that. And I asked God later, what was that demon doing there? Because that's when I realized that it was a demon. And the only thing that I can figure is it was spying on me. But for what reason, I don't know. That was the only time that I had seen that here. But there has been several times that I had seen something scurry along the floor, or I have heard sounds. So it's been quite a while now since there's been any kind of activity like that go on here, where I am spirit filled and everything, and I'm constantly praying to God and praising Him and everything. And so where God dwells, Satan can't. And so God's spirit has replaced the demon activity in this house, because they can't be where Jesus is. They just can't. It's not possible. And so there hasn't been any more activity, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, those are pretty well the experiences that I have had as far as it goes for that. But I have also had like an angel encounter. There was one time I was with my sister-in-law, and we ended up with a flat. And I'm at the store and I'm trying to change the tire, and I was kind of struggling because, for one, I didn't have the jack where I needed it underneath the frame of the car. And so I was really struggling. And I noticed that a car pulled in and a guy got out. He had a buzz cut, reminded me of a Mariner. He actually reminded me of my brother, because my brother used to be in the Marines. And so he asked if I needed help. That'd be nice, thank you. So he ran on ahead. He properly put the jack in its place, jacked up the car, took the tire out of my trunk, changed the tire, put the jack down, put it all back in my car. And then he got into the car and left. He didn't even once go into the store. And I just knew that God had sent an angel my way to go on ahead and help me change that tire out. And that was the one encounter that I had had of an angel. So much activity around you. May God be with you always. Yes, Amanda. Yes. And he is. He protects me greatly. He protects me greatly. I believe that God has given me the discernment to see into the activities that goes on, because it never ceases. Demons are always busy. They're always busy. And a lot of times people do not see that. People don't see what Satan's doing behind the scenes. But people doesn't see what God's doing behind the scenes either. And I have seen activity where the angels are going after the demons, chasing them off. I've seen it. So I know that God fights in my behalf. Now, why he's given me the discernment to see these things, I don't know. But for them being ghostly hauntings, I don't believe that. Because demons are able to shape shift, so to speak. That's the reason why I saw my husband walk across the floor that one day. But they don't frighten me. And I guess that's because I know where I stand in Christ. And they've tried. And like I said, just the one time I was shook up was when I saw that shadow looking in the living room at me. Other than that, I haven't really been frightened by anything that I have seen. And then, like I said, they're on the trail. That kind of shook me up. That shook me up. Other than that, but the closer I get to Jesus, the less anything happens, because I don't know, I guess basically I'm more focused on God now than ever. And so therefore I'm more protected, maybe. I don't experience as much now. And so that's really a great thing. As far as it goes with angels, I know that they're definitely around me. I know that they surround me. And I'll never forget about the angel that reminded me of a Marine coming and helping me with that tire. I'll never forget that at all. You have a special gift. I wish we knew each other so you could talk with me more about this. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. I always keep God with me too, girl. It's about the only way that we can make it. It's the only way we can make it. He's my salvation. He's my strength. He's my joy. He's my hope. He's my very breath. I can't live without him. And if I didn't have Jesus in my life, everything that I've experienced, I guarantee you I would be freaked out and staying on high nerves. Guaranteed. I'm grateful for him. I'm very grateful for him. But that's pretty well everything that I've experienced thus far. And now I'm just looking for better things happening to me, like him helping me with my weight loss, and him, me getting a closer relationship with him, and how good I feel. I find myself giggling more than I ever did. I used to be a very sad, sappy person, depressed all the time, always frowning, just down in the mouth. And now I'm full of joy and peace and calm, and the big difference serving him. Amen, sister. Thank you. um, Adventures, though, other than like, yeah, I absolutely love hiking the trails and everything. But, I would absolutely love to explore some of these abandoned houses. I would love to go in because I love seeing homes and how they're designed. I love seeing, like, if they were made differently and like maybe kind of mazy type and everything. The house where I had some of those experiences in when we first moved into it, it used to be his brother's house. And the way they had it fixed up, there was like they had put a closet in the hall to operate as a closet for their bedroom. And so you would enter through the kitchen, turn left into the living room, and then go straight down the hall past two bedrooms, and then turn right into a TV room. And then in the TV room was the laundry room on the far wall, and on the far left was the entry into the hall with two closets and then the main bedroom. And either you could go that way or you could go on the far right of that TV room and go back into the kitchen, and the bathroom was in that little hall. But how it was with that, originally it was a trailer, and so they just added a house onto that trailer and made it one full house. So it still had the layout of the trailer, and they just added to it. But I love seeing the architect of houses and how they've been designed. What new is there? Like, how many stairs? What does the rooms look like? Is it a master bathroom, a master bedroom? How many bedrooms? And so, like this one, we've got the kitchen behind me, and I'm in a little dinette section, and it's only separated by a counter that connects to the counter in the kitchen area, and I call that the bar, but it's not detachable. And that's what separates the kitchen from the dinette area. And then the dinette is a completely open area so that you go right into the living room. There's no hallway. You just go right into the living room. And then you turn left and you've got your archway that leads toward the foyer and the front door. And in that foyer, you turn left immediately from the archway, and you've got your long hallway. And that is the bed area, the living space, the separate bedrooms. And you've got bedroom number one, coat closet, linen closet on both sides of the hall. You've got your coat closet beside first bedroom, and across from that is the linen closet. Then you go on straight, and there's bedroom number two on the same side of bedroom number one. And then you turn, and immediately as you turn around the corner of the hallway, you've got your main house bathroom, and then you continue on in that little hallway, and you've got the master bedroom that's also got a walk-in closet with a pocket door. You can actually change your clothes in there because it's more like a room instead of just a walk-in closet. It's real spacey. And then you've got your bathroom on the opposite side of that, and you've got your sink smack dab in the center between the walk-in closet and the bathroom. The sink is open toward the bedroom. But the concept of the house is cool. We've got a fireplace that's in the corner, of the living room. And the concept of the house is it's just cool. I love the fact that the bedrooms are separated from the living quarters here in the the kids the bed, they're not being disturbed by what's going on in the living room. It's pretty cool. That would be fun to see abandoned houses. They're so interesting. We would go on an adventure together, laugh out loud, see what kind of stuff is going on in those houses. Some are so beautiful. Really honestly are. Um, my housemate, my husband, he's just been this good to give me Rich the story on itself that I'm not willing to share. But currently I'm separated from my husband, but we live in separate states. So my friend lived here, and just take and he just gave me room. But the house is extremely interesting. It's I think it's got two stairways and several different rooms. And this house was it's old. It's old. Matter of fact, the majority of the houses along that street are they're extremely old houses. You can tell they're one particular house I think they said was built in 19 in the 1910s or 20s one. So they're all really old houses along that street. And this one particular one, like it's be the design of the house was really cool. And it is looked and I could just imagine like one particular room they would have been sitting their dad smoking his pipe, mom knitting a blanket or something, and just kind of might have took place in that house when it was alive. And the people who moved into it, the woman runs a years roundabout. Um, but whole lot of abandoned houses in Kentucky too. They really don't like all that much girls. And in where like, in fact, there have been a couple houses hit. The on track subscriber colon